Alright, so we're back here. We're going to unwrap our body today. So last time we did the head, so it's all nice and done. Again, if you missed the first video or want a little recap, I detached the head, unwrapped it on its own, so it's going to get its own texture. Next, we're going to do the body. I believe that I finished unwrapping the horns as well. So I did a couple different horns, or two different horns. I put a seam kind of right down the front. I'm going to show you kind of what issues you might run in through that. So I put two seams on this horn and one on that one, and we'll kind of take a look at what they bake out like. So I'm done with the head, and we will move on to the body. Now before we do that, so I've been thinking about this belt quite a bit, deciding what I want to do with it, and I think I'm going to get rid of it and just make it part of the body. So one of the things I'm going to have to do, which is going to be a bit tricky, is this belt actually, sticks out from the body as well. So I'm going to have to model it out at some point too, which is fine. I have a really nice place to hide my seam right here, which is where this this buckle is going to go, and we'll kind of see how that goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach this belt and this buckle just for good measure. Actually, I'm going to do the buckle separate. So I'm just going to select these elements. I'm going to hit detach, just call it belt. And I'm going to select my buckle. I'm just going to detach it for now as well. Probably don't need to use our buckle to capture some of the normal details from our body, but I'm going to leave it in there. See if it causes any issues, and if it does, we'll address them as they come. So let's take a look at my body here and take a look at the wireframe. And first, what I'm going to want to do is kind of match up my wireframe again to this belt. So if you kind of take a look, some parts are underneath, some parts are over, and overall it's not exactly where I need it to be. So I'm going to put it up a little higher, just so it's all visible, and that way I could just pull down these verts. I'm going to have my my edge mode selected so I don't ruin any of my my proportions and my flow, because I don't want to mess up what I have with the body. We're going to leave that for now. We're going to take a look at that in a second, because we're going to want to model out a little bit of those belt straps, because they are they should add a little bit to the silhouette too, because they are pretty cool. So I'm just going to go through and just do this, just again moving down these verts just to the top of the belt. So sometimes when you go through and it's time to bake your textures, even after you bake them, sometimes you might have to do a whole bunch of bakes before you really get your model looking how you want it to be. That's just part of the process. It's really hard to get things perfectly right the first time, unless you've done a whole bunch of characters before. So again, definitely a bit of a learning curve here with baking out stuff and doing low polys, but that's okay. That's just how it goes. Alright, so that looks pretty good for the top part. I'm going to do the bottom part in a second. I might actually add a loop so I don't break up the one that's there. Oh, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how that's connecting. Might have to do some cleanup. Actually, yeah, let's do that first before we start adding these elements here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to just move down some of these verts here, just so they're not interfering with the belt too much. As they're kind of intersecting a little. There you go, a little bit of the butt ones too. Just gonna gently keep them nice and flowy, but just have them kind of mimic the flow of the belt a little better. There we go. I'm gonna select this edge right here. I'm just gonna ring it and then hit the connect button. Where's it? Right there. And just add myself a loop. And with my edge select still on, I'm just going to bring that down just so it's visible. And I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did for the top, but for the bottom. So just start bringing these guys up. I haven't unwrapped my body at all yet, so any geo changes I do right now, is definitely a good time to do them, just because it doesn't really matter if I mess up things because I don't have UVs. Once you have your model unwrapped, you have to be way more careful about editing your mesh so you don't screw up your unwraps at the same time, because once those are done, if you move verts around like this without taking precautions of keeping your UVs in check, you'll definitely ruin your unwraps and get messed up that way. So good thing to keep in mind as you're moving forward. So let's just finish this off here. Alright, there we go. Oh, I'm not done at all. There we go, that's pretty good. So I have that for my belt. Next thing I'm going to need to do is for any of these belt loops, I'm going to need two, I'm going to need this basically. What happened up here is I'm going to need to basically follow this contour around. How closely, kind of depends on you. I'm going to try and do a pretty decent job. I'm going to move around some of these guys just to keep my nice flow going of my edges here. There we go. Good for that one. So I'll probably need another edge here to just kind of try and mimic this a little bit more. I mean, you could kind of leave it a little blobby like this guy here. That might look okay too. But I want it to be fairly tight to my body there. So I believe I have a loop going right through the center. I didn't even need to add a loop. I'm actually just going to remove that guy for now. I don't need him. He's just going to get in the way. There we go. Actually, wait, that was a dumb way of doing that. Let me just go back to edge. I'm going to use my cut tool. I'm going to cut from here to here. There we go. Move those up and around so they kind of fit a little better. Just connected those edges just so they're not just kind of floating around. There we go. So that's kind of what you want here. You want a nice thing, and I know we do have triangles right here. We can clean those up and get rid of them, which we may do. They're not too bad. I mean, we're done mesh smoothing at this point, so they still look nice and clean, so that's okay. So go through and do that for the rest of any kind of objects that you want to be just part of your mesh like this. If you want them to be. The nice thing about doing it this way is, as opposed to having a separate object, it'll just be a little easier for rigging and doing things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish this belt up, and we'll come back to some unwrapping when that's done. Okay, so I'm done cutting out these little areas here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to extrude this this belt. So I'm going to select this edge, ring it. I'm going to hold Control and click the face, the polygon button, to select those guys as that. I guess that is not part of the loop for some reason, so I'm just going to select any elements that it missed, or any faces that it missed. Oops. And once I have those selected, I gotta make sure I have to make sure that I have my little belt pieces selected as well. So I'm just going to go through and select those guys. I kind of made a little bit of a mess of my mesh here. I'll clean it up a little bit later. It's not the worst, but just a couple bad flows and things like that. So I have those selected. I could just get that belt back. Now I'm going to extrude this. So I'm going to open up the extrude dialog. It's going to go shoot way up, which is bad. This little first option here, I'm going to click the down arrow, hit local normal, so that'll extrude it outwards. I'm going to click this to 0, just right click it, and then just push it out a little bit, right? Not too crazy. Oh, actually, I cancel that. I still have my edge constraints on. You don't want to have those on when you're extruding because sometimes it could get really weird. So we have some weird anomalies happening here, which kind of explains why my model didn't properly loop. So before I extrude, I'm just going to go fix those things up. And what happens sometimes when you cut, like for instance here, I thought that I cut right to that vert there, but it turns out cut just added me another vertice. So I'm just going to go through and you just marquee select these guys, just click off of the vert, marquee select over them. You'll see down here that I have 2 vertices selected. With those selected, I'm just going to hit the weld button and that'll just weld them up. So I might just do that for my entire waist here, just because I know that's probably where all the problems are. Sometimes if you hit weld, it may weld things that you do not want welded, like these 2 guys, as an example. You know, might start doing that kind of stuff. If that ever happens with the default weld number, just open up this weld dialog and turn this down to like a really low number. You know, whatever it is you need. And you'll notice that with all these selected, I have 118 vertices. When I click the weld button, it goes down to 116. So that means I had some overlaps, which they're gone now, which is good. So now if I extrude, it should look a lot nicer. Shouldn't have any weird anomalies going on. I'm just going to unhide all that. Just going to push this out a little further, and then do that. And what I'm going to use the outline tool here, and what that's going to do, if you open that up, what it does is it scales everything kind of locally to its normal, which is actually a big pain in the butt to do by hand if you had to do it. So I'm just going to do that until it kind of feels pretty good. Might still have to adjust some things by hand, which is fine. Like these guys here, that doesn't look very nice, so I might have to just bring that up. Right, make sure it's all nicely covered. You don't want anything like this because that won't capture the normals or the bakes really well, so make sure that it's above all your assets. Right, let's just make sure this is in here. And this is kind of a sloppy mesh right now, so I'm going to spend some time cleaning that up. So for any of you that started with the Mudbox default model, you're probably going to have to do a lot of this where you're extruding and cleaning up your low poly quite a lot, which is fine. I mean, that's just part of the process. And it's a bit painstaking too, but hey, that's the fun of it. You'll have a nice looking character by the end, and that's all that matters. So there you go, let's just do that. So right now you can tell that these straps here for my belt aren't fully overlapping the old low poly geometry, which is okay for now. We're going to fix that up in a little bit. Let's make sure this is nice and smooth. Just gotta go clean up. Half this job is just being some sort of 3D janitor. Just going up, cleaning up some things, making them look really good, nice and tidy. Again, make sure all these guys overlap nicely, or cover up the old low poly. Again, the more work you do now, the less work your bakes will become, which, trust me, you don't want to be spending forever on your bakes. They don't take a super long time to do, but they can be painstaking if you have some issues. So we have these guys down now. We could do a couple things. I could take these faces here and extrude them again to get a bit of a higher kind of res or higher plane. I could also do this where I remove these two edges just by hitting backspace and then attaching these opposite verts like so, and then taking this face and kind of just moving it up a little bit, which you know, will kind of skew some of your looks here. So I might put my edge constraints back on and lower this guy, something like that. Maybe a little too high on this side. Sometimes edge constraints won't do a great job for certain things like this. There we go. So I'm going to go around and do the same thing to all the buckles, or not the buckles, these little edges here. So I'm going to do that to all of them, so they're all nice and encompassing the low poly, which will be our high poly during the bake. And I'm just going to go ahead and just adjust all these guys to make sure they're fairly snug. Don't want them floating too far out as well, because they that might cause you problems. Now, since my belt is very round, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to adjust this belt to kind of sink in a little bit like this, which if I left it that way, it would actually be very bad for the bake. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, once I'm done cleaning everything up, I'm going to add a ring across the belt like this, and then just push it out. Just get a little bit of a roundness in there that it's missing, right? So I'll just do that. So I won't bother you with watching me do all of that. So I'll come back in a sec once that's done. Alright, so I finished the belt, and let's take a look at what that looks like here. So it's all nicely connected. I cleaned up the mesh a little bit too, so it's not too bad. It's still a little wobbly here and there, but it's all right. So you can tell it's the nice thing is it's going to be all part of this mesh. It'll deform really well. It might be a little too many polys there. We clean that up in the low poly once the textures are done. But it'll just blend well, right? With this one, you might get some intersection and stuff like that with the movement and chest movement and stuff like that, and we'll leave that for rigging. We'll take a look at the problems that it causes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this belt here, and I'm just going to apply the same smoothing group as the body, just to kind of mush it along there. Alright, so let's take a look for our final problem here with the belt is the part that sticks out, which some of you guys might have. So my first job is going to find the area where it first kind of starts really sticking out of the mesh here, which is probably somewhere along here or there. I might just do this one right here. So what I need to do is I need to take these edges and just kind of align them to be parallel to that part of the mesh. So with my edge constraints on, I'm just going to move these guys over here. There we go, just like that. And I'm going to take this next row and just move it a little closer. Just like that. Alright, so now we kind of have a jump off point for our mesh here, where this is going to kind of become two pieces. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge right here, and I'm going to lower it to kind of match the underside of the belt, so somewhere down there. Same with this guy, he's pretty high, so let's just lower him down a bit too. He's on a weird angle as well, so we'll probably want to fix that. So you want that to just be to fit the contour of the belt below, which I might take some playing around with. There we go, something like that. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take these guys here and we're going to extrude them as part of this belt. So just these ones here, just going to do extrude, and we will rebuild that belt from those guys. I actually might undo that and just take a look at my belt here. So I may want to extrude all of these just to get a bit of that roundness as well. That's obviously very thick, so I'm just going to just collapse those down, put them down a little. Gonna move around all these verts to make sure that they fit over my mesh properly. Go. Alright, and I'm going just to keep going on with that and just extrude again and again until I reach the end here. I may not want to do local normal anymore. That's what got me into trouble the last extrusion I did. This was a little too big. And I might have to start rotating it to kind of match the curve of this belt. Just keep going. And don't be afraid to make it a little higher poly. It's better to have a good amount of curves at this point. Now we can reduce later on if we need to. You don't want your bake coming out too jaggedy. That's why I'm leaving a lot of the stuff on the body right now that I probably will end up removing once we finish, just because it'll help the bake. So okay, I think that'll be pretty good at this point. Might add a couple edges here and there. Oh, what went on over here? I have some crazy shenanigans happening. I think I may have extruded something poorly. Let me just put back face call on this guy here. Let's take a look at what's going on. Oh, he's two-sided. That's not good. That is a lot of polygons. So let's, yeah, something went terribly wrong here. So I might have to just redo a couple of these steps here. Let's figure out what's going on here. So I don't need the back side of this belt. I can cap that later, but I don't really need the information that it's going to capture with the bake. So I'm just going to undo this a little and just kind of clean this up. So instead of extruding edges, I'm just going to extrude, or faces, I'm going to extrude edges, which will be a little easier. So alright, so I have that. I'm going to just start adjusting these to make sure that they cover my mesh nicely. Alright, let's just start pulling these guys in, and I'm not going to leave the end open as it is right now. I'm going to need to cap that and make sure it's closed off nicely, so we'll do that in a second here. Let me just pull these guys in. Okay, there we go. And so what we're going to do is we're going to extrude just these front faces here. We're going to pull those in all the way down. So these will kind of become the front of the belt. And I'll have to move this guy up. And I'm going to use my target welds just to select weld this, that for it to that one, and that one to that guy, and that'll keep my quads. And just round these off nicely just so they match the kind of flow of the belt a little better. Alright, so that's pretty good. Again, I could add some more detail to that if I need to, but I think that'll be okay for now. So let's take a look at what that looks like. It's pretty good. So I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to add the same smoothing group to everything. And there we go. So that's a nice little way of adding stuff. We will cap this off later. I just don't need to do it for now, just because it doesn't need unique UVs. We'll just use like the different part of the belt to do so. And so let's take a look at what doing this has done for our poly count too. So right now we're at 31,000 tries, 15,000 polys for this whole guy here, which is already pretty awesome. And when we delete this belt here, we're going to go down to 11,000, which is well below my kind of poly count that I set for myself at around 20. So we're around 23,000 tries, which is pretty good. So that's kind of what I was looking for. And we'll be ready to unwrap. So hopefully that will help you out with any of your mesh details that you need to model into your low poly. And we'll go from there. So.